Hi, I'm Fritz Weatherby, and I'd like to welcome you to a new series of performing arts specials entitled Backstage Front Row. Our purpose here is to present some of the best in music, dance, and drama that New Hampshire has to offer. And we begin with a trumpet and flugelhorn player named Clark Terry. If you've never heard of Clark Terry, it's probably because he has spent a life so busy performing and teaching that he's hardly had time to make a name for himself. But in the music business, especially the jazz scene, Clark Terry is a force to be reckoned with. He is one of the few people that can boast being part of Count Basie's and Duke Ellington's orchestras. He has played with the likes of Charlie Barnett and Quincy Jones. He was the first black performer to be a regular member of the Tonight Show band, and he has survived to share his memories and stories of an incredible life. Clark Terry is not a native of the Granite State. Fact is, he was born in St. Louis and lives in New York. But over the years, we here in New Hampshire have adopted Clark Terry as our own. At the University of New Hampshire, he has been a teacher, mentor, and friend to countless students of music. In 1976, he fronted the UNH Jazz Band at the Montreux Jazz Festival in Switzerland, and was then awarded an honorary Doctor of Humanities degree. In 1988, the university appointed him adjunct professor of music. Today, he stands as one of the most visible and powerful figures in jazz education. On the occasion of his 70th birthday, Clark Terry and some of his dearest friends came together here in New Hampshire for a celebration of a life in music.
Ladies and gentlemen, we just want to have you join us in wishing the very great happy birthday to one of the most beautiful people in the world, Clark Terry. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Good thing.
My older sister was married to a tuba player whose name was Cy McField. And they used to play in a band in the area by the name of Dewey Jackson's Musical Ambassadors. And they rehearsed at the various homes of members of the band. And whenever they rehearsed at my sister's home, they would allow me to come and sit in and listen to the band. And I got to the point where I really liked the music. And I was particularly drawn to the trumpet because one of the trumpet players, I think his name was Mr. Lattimore, owned a candy store, and when he would come to rehearsal, he'd sometimes have a pocket full of my two favorite kinds of candy, which was Mary Jane's and caramel. So he'd always give me one, and loved very much. So occasionally, he'd give me a couple of pennies, and when they took breaks, he'd say, "Hey, son, watch my horn." And I would, of course, sit there ogle-eyed and watch it for the entire length of the break. And on one particular occasion, they returned from a break only to discover me having been drawn to the horn, huffing and puffing away, trying to make a sound. And he said, "Hey, son, you're going to be a trumpet player." And I was stupid enough to believe it. Right on it. 1, 2, 1, 2. You know what to do.
When you hear Clark Terry play, students, amateurs, professionals know right away it's Clark Terry, because there's a definite sound, there's a definite articulation that Clark produces. You know right away it's Clark Terry.
Well, you can use the word exciting. Clark Terry's style is exciting. He has the academic ability and also the innate natural ability. And that's a unique thing in itself.
He has so much ease. I think I strain a lot from playing, but he's with so much ease. I've got to learn that technique from Clark. Beautiful, just beautiful.
Well, I like to think that my music will make people happy, make people aware that I was a conscientious person long after I'm gone, and that they say that you can always sense through a person's music the type of person he is, you know. And there's something to that, because I know there's some guys who are vicious, uptight, and evil, and they sound vicious and uptight and evil. And I would like not to sound vicious, uptight, and evil. I like to sound relaxed and enjoyable, and even in some occasions, beautiful, you know. Although I'm an old, ugly ham, you know. I'd like to think of at least my soul as being beautiful. This one was named for my granddaughter, whose name is Michelle, and you can tell, I think, that it's a bit older than the Beatles, Michelle, by my age. Two, a one, two. Jazz is a very, very intricate and difficult thing to explain, to bring it down point blank to anyone, to explain to them on a one-to-one level just what it is. It's a way of life, it's a way of indulgence, it's a way of, it's a very small sphere of people who indulge in it, people who produce it, and people who support it, and it's highly ostracized and even criticized, you know, but greatly appreciated by those who do indulge in it. And it's just a way of giving vent to one's feelings, and your whole life you find, if you're really a jazz person, you find that your whole life evolves around it.
We have so many facets, so many different types of jazz. We have a problem there. And I run into that all the time. And we have to just let kids decide for themselves which way to go. There's all kind of roads to go. I hate when someone asks me, what is jazz? I hate to hear that because I can't answer that.
No matter what happens, you can talk about jazz fusion, jazz rock. It's all great, but that all comes from this basic structure of the early jazz players, you know. If it wasn't for them, you wouldn't hear all this or see all this today, you know. And the reason for that is because that is so pure and so right and so honest. That's why it has longevity.
Jazz is like, I would make an analogy of it like plastic materials. Plastic materials are made from waste materials. And under heat and pressure, it becomes something other, another entity that has none of the properties of the waste material in which it came from. Well, this is what happened to America. Waste people came here, slaves came here, waste material, things you didn't want, things that you used for something else. Indentured servants. This is what America is based on, these kind of people. And this is where, and under heat and pressure from all these different countries and all these different places, they come together with something, and it is none of the properties. It is not European music, even though the Europeans came. Europeans have great scales. We use all of the scales of the European. Africans didn't have harmony to their music, but they had rhythm. So if you use African rhythms and you use the European scales, this contribution of the 5-tone scales from the Chinese, any other ethnic group, and you put it together under heat and pressure, then you come up with a thing that we call jazz.
That's it. Yeah, it makes it so much easier for us, man. But if you get into a place where a lot of cats think it's really hip to play, the cats say it ain't too cool to play tonics. Man, you got that's bass. That's what bass is. Means the bottom, something upon which to build. You know, you never saw anybody build a house starting on the 5th floor.
He's one of the most giving persons I've ever met in my life. I can't possibly tell you how much I've learned from him in the way of teaching and sharing your expertise with others. He seems to be just a miracle man for that.
Clark comes in, meets them on an eye level, and they feel the warmth. They feel his vibrations right away. And he'll say, I'm glad to be here, and I want to work with you. And right away, they're going to give him 100%.
Play the 2-beat line now, 2-beat line. A note is a note, and the note doesn't care who plays it, as long as he plays it well. Doesn't care if it's black, brown, green, or gray. If you play the note well, it's accepted, you know. But if you don't play it well, whatever you are, it's not accepted, you know. Once in a little town in Meridian, Mississippi, I was attempted to be lynched. They attempted to lynch me because I didn't say yes, sir, to a white guy on the street, on the fairground. He asked me if I was on the, you know, with the carnival with which I was traveling at the time. He asked me a question, and I said yes. And then he went on to quiz me using the magic word, which we referred to. That nigger is what he said. So, and he beat me with a blackjack on this side of the head, and my head swelled up about 3 times the size. Then he quickly ran away. The crew tells me. And meanwhile, the crew picked me up, took me to the show trains, and put me in bed and called the doctor and whatnot. And meanwhile, this guy comes back with about 20 more people, and with chains and bricks and bats, and they tell me all this, you know. So that's just one little small incident. We ran into all sorts of things. There were places we went, you could have a pocket full of money, and you couldn't spend it. But you couldn't go in a restaurant and eat. You couldn't go to the hotel. We were always relegated to staying at Miss Jones and Miss Green's and Miss Brown's house, but you couldn't stay in the local hotel. We used to have to make fun out and laughter out of all of these, you know, abnormalities and indignities that we were subjected to. Because if you didn't, it'd just be a sorrowful lot of people who just wasted away, you know. So we had to, as the old saying goes, we had to keep stepping. There's a certain amount of respect and camaraderie and even love for one another and mutual admiration that happens on a bandstand that people would be surprised it happens, you know. We enjoy listening to each other and performing with one another just as much as people in the audiences enjoy the guys playing, you know.
I can wake up in the morning feeling bad, and if I put on a Louie Bellson or something like that, I said, man, this is good. I go there, wash my teeth, and go and eat something. Be good. Music does wonderful things to me, for me. Headaches go away, everything. Even sometimes I don't want to eat. I stop listening to some good album or something, or some good band. I forget to eat. My wife said, listen, don't you want to eat? I said, okay. And I turn the thing on, have a radio in every room, and even in the bathroom. Listen to everybody's jazz. I love it. That keeps me alive.
It's the only creative form that comes from America, and slowly everybody's starting to recognize that, you know. And when they do, won't be able to beat it. It's here to stay.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This is what jazz is all about. This is what music is all about. This is what life is all about everywhere. Thank you for coming. It's certainly one of the warmest nights in the history of the University of Hampton. Happy birthday, Tom.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, fellas. Thank you.
Thank you very, very kindly, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you.
Portuguese!